Welcome once again to Lehto's Law. Here's Steve Lehto.
We've talked a lot about Florida man, and now it's time to talk about Florida judge. Because a man from Florida actually got in trouble for writing a letter to a Florida judge telling him what he thought of him. And as a result, the judge threw the man in jail. And this is a crazy story because a judge shouldn't do that. So from the South Florida Sun-Sentinel, Mark Freeman wrote the article. Jamie sent it to me. He got 30 days in jail for his letter cursing out the judge. Don't you have a right to criticize the court? And keep in mind, cursing out the judge, we're simply talking about words on paper. Words on paper. So, a man wrote a letter slamming a South Florida judge as incompetent and unfit to serve in a foul-mouthed letter and then spent 30 days in jail as a result. The man's from Royal Palm Beach. He's 41 years old. He's waging a free speech fight that could decide whether Floridians have a right to tell a judge what they can do with their ruling. A state appeals court panel is reviewing the case. They expressed surprise that the man wound up in legal trouble for telling off a judge after his case was over. So here's the situation. Man has a case in front of a judge. The case ends. After that, the man writes a letter to the judge telling him what he thinks of the judge. The judge calls the man back in and has him thrown in jail. And there's a distinction there to be made. Things that happen during litigation, things that happen outside of or after litigation. One of the judges at this recent hearing said, if the case is over and a disgruntled litigant writes the judge and says, look, I think you did a lousy job, you missed these points, what's wrong with that? I mean, judges have to have a thick skin too. And that's precisely what the man himself argued after the target of his letter filed the contempt charge against him. We're talking about Palm Beach County Circuit Judge Howard Coates Jr., who held the man in contempt for writing him the letter. The man had blasted the judge over his decision to dismiss a $500 million civil lawsuit that the man had filed against the Palm Beach County Sheriff's Office. In the suit, the man claimed the sheriff's office had wasted a friend's time over a seatbelt citation. Now, some of you are saying, Steve, that's a stupid lawsuit. I'm not saying it wasn't. Stupid lawsuits get filed all the time, and they get thrown out all the time. But the point is that if you're a judge and you make a ruling, the case is dismissed, and one of the litigants writes you an angry letter, is that something for which you can drag the letter writer into your courtroom and then have them locked up? In his typewritten letter, and by the way, he took the time to type the letter up. In his typewritten letter, the man called the judge a effing hypocrite and added that he can't wait till the voters wake up and get rid of these effing clowns you call judges. So he used the F word a couple times, but he called the judge a hypocrite and a clown, but notice clowns was plural. And so there he's actually criticizing the entire bench. He's not criticizing just one man. He's criticizing the entire bench. The judge said the letter included statements and representations calculated to lessen the authority and dignity of the court and impugned my reputation in the community. Well, the question is, if you get a letter, you open it up and you're reading it, how many people in the community know about it? None. Unless you consider yourself the community, but that wouldn't make any sense. And likewise, how would it lessen the authority and dignity of the court? Again, because this is between you and the letter writer. So, according to a court transcript, the judge told the man, you have accused me of being incompetent. That causes personal harm. But the harm goes beyond me. It goes to the judicial system as well. I'm going to make a point here, okay? And this is an extremely important point. There's a Palm Beach County Circuit Judge, Howard K. Coates Jr., who is incompetent. The man is incompetent. And I want to make sure this is as clear as possible. My name is Steve Lehto, Lehto. I'm an attorney in the state of Michigan. I'm easy enough to find. Google me. You'll get sick of me real fast. And I'm stating for the record, my opinion is that Judge Howard K. Coates Jr. of the Palm Beach County Circuit Court is, in fact, incompetent. And I believe he's incompetent because he does not understand that when someone writes you a letter personally insulting you, that you can simply take it and throw it away and ignore it. And no one would know about it. It wouldn't be published. It wouldn't hurt you in the community. The fact that you don't understand that makes you incompetent. Okay, got it. Another judge was randomly assigned to rule on the contempt case, found the letter amounted to a clear and present danger to the orderly administration of justice. He sentenced the man to 6 months of probation with the first 30 days to be spent behind bars. So another judge is actually just as incompetent. That'd be Judge Robert Panse, Panse. Pansy? I'm not sure. And I apologize. I'm not trying to make fun of the name. I just don't know how to pronounce it. After the man protested, the judge explained the bounds of speech are not limitless. And the man's scandalous and noxious allegations against the judge crossed a line. They crossed a line. You cannot insult a judge, apparently, in Florida. That led, of course, to the man's challenging this to the 4th District Court of Appeals. That's in West Palm Beach. The judges could not be reached Tuesday despite calls to their offices, but judges typically do not comment on pending litigation. The man, by the way, who's in trouble here because he was held in contempt for this, works as a night shift security guard and also cleans carpets. He was a combat soldier for the U.S. Army, served 3 deployments in Iraq and Afghanistan, and now suffers from PTSD. In a statement released by his attorney, they called the battle over the letter a very challenging experience. One of the points that's made by the attorney for the man who was held in contempt is that the letter couldn't harm the justice system because the lawsuit was over when the man sent it. So the letter Mr. Jenkins sent could have and should have simply been relegated to the trash bin. Meanwhile, Aaron Kaplan, a First Amendment expert and professor at Loyola Law School in Los Angeles, agreed, saying all Judge Coates needed to do was take the letter and stick it in the file and not worry himself about it. Kaplan says citizens can criticize a judge all they want, but not in a courtroom or in a court filing on a pending issue. And so that's the distinction. And I've talked before about how you behave in a courtroom. And as an attorney, I'm very aware of it because when I go into court, which I do more often than the average person, I have to watch how I behave. So you are very respectful to the court, you're respectful to the other litigants, you're respectful to people who are watching, you're respectful to everybody. You're respectful in a courtroom. So obviously in a courtroom, you wouldn't call the judge on the bench names, okay? You wouldn't do that. Maybe in the movies, but not in real life. Likewise, in litigation or in paperwork you file with the court on a pending case, you would have to watch what you say. And there are court rules on this. So in Michigan, they've got what's called the Michigan Court Rules, the MCRs. And in the Michigan Court Rules, it actually addresses what you are allowed to put in pleadings and what you cannot put in pleadings. And if you put scandalous material or obscenities in pleadings, you'll get in trouble for it. And the court can strike the pleadings, meaning that the court can actually say, we've got your filing here, but we're not going to accept it. We're going to toss it and make you refile it without that stuff in there. And likewise, if you were to get out of control in the courtroom and start calling the judge names or insulting the court itself, there's rules on that also. And the rules arise in different places depending on whether you're an actual litigant or an attorney. Attorneys are actually held to a higher standard. So there are ethical rules that attorneys have got to follow when it comes to how they behave in a courtroom. But this letter did not happen in a courtroom in that sense. The man may have opened the letter in his chambers, if that's where he got the mail, but there was no pending case between the man who wrote the letter and the man who read the letter was a judge who was not presiding over any cases involving that man. So at that point, the man who wrote the letter is simply a typical person. He's just a guy out there who wrote a letter. And he has the right to be critical. Whether it's the nicest thing to do, I don't know. But the point is that if you're going to get into politics, you need to have a thick skin. The idea that if you run for office and you want everyone to like you, you're dreaming. But if you also think that if someone comes after you and calls you names, you're going to get upset and bent out of shape and have someone thrown in jail for it, you really need to rethink your calling in life. I would argue that the first guy that we talked about, the first judge that we talked about, shouldn't even be a judge, lacks the demeanor to be a judge. Judge Howard K. Coates Jr. lacks the demeanor to be a judge. And I would also say County Judge Robert Panse, who actually ruled on this case after the first judge complained about it, likewise. And I don't know if he's doing that for his friend or why he would do that, but you'd think the second judge would look at this and go, wait, the guy wrote you an insulting letter. Toss it. Toss it. I mean, now, because you've publicized it, it's made national news. Now everyone knows that you're an incompetent judge. And it kind of proves the man's point. So I don't know what to tell you. But like I said before, in my opinion, the first judge is incompetent. The second judge, likewise incompetent. But I don't know what the rationale behind the second judge actually agreeing with the first judge, other than, and this is what's sad about this, so many people comment my videos, and they go, Steve, these judges are all in cahoots. It's like, boys club behind the closed doors. They're all working with each other. They're all taking care of each other. And I'm always like, yeah, conspiracy theories, whatever. No, it turns out once in a while you get an incompetent judge who can get another incompetent judge to help them out. Makes you think. Maybe they are. I don't know. I'm not saying they are in cahoots, whatever that means. I'm just saying it does not look good. So the second judge should have told the first judge, dude, I'm sorry. Suck it up. And it's going to happen. And all we can hope is that if these guys run for re-election, which I think they do, that a little more publicity gets out there on this and people can say, wait a second. That's the judge who, if you insult him, when you've got no cases pending before him, he might have you dragged into court anyways and throw you in jail. Interesting. So that's what you get, I guess. So again, the man got 30 days in jail for a letter insulting the judge. The question is, don't you have a right to criticize the court? In Florida, you might not, but I suspect the Court of Appeals is going to spin this around. I'll keep watching for it. As soon as they do spin it around, I'll let you know. Questions or comments, put them below. Otherwise, talk to you later. Bye-bye.
Thank you for watching Lehto's Law. The next time you have a thought, let it go.